Open the book of Genesis, and you find a clear declaration about human biology. The physical body, both male and female, was uniquely designed by God and declared good. From that design comes a biological reality. A man's natural physical attraction to the female form is a hardwired function. It is how the human race continues. The challenge we face isn't the existence of that attraction. The conflict lies in navigating the razor-thin boundary where a natural, God-given response crosses over into destructive lust. Because this drive is incredibly powerful, modern culture and the church has historically panicked. We've looked for external ways to control it, which has led to some disastrous misdiagnoses of the actual problem. For decades, the prominent solution was something known as purity culture. It was an attempt to solve an internal male problem through external female action. In this flowchart's closed loop, the female form triggers male temptation, requiring the female to hide. This forces women to carry a heavy burden of shame, and when the male element disappears from the equation, it strips away all his personal accountability. Blaming the environment or women's bodies ultimately fails to cure lust. You cannot heal an illness by treating the wrong patient. To fix this, we have to look at Jesus Christ's Sermon on the Mount. He completely disrupted this external blame game. In Matthew chapter 5, Jesus makes a radical statement. Look at the specific phrasing here. He says that anyone who looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery in his heart. Notice the glaring omission in this teaching. Jesus never instructs the woman to change her clothes, hide, or alter her behavior to protect the man. Instead, he issues a violent, extreme command to the man. If your right eye causes you to sin, pluck it out. He isn't calling for literal self-harm. This is a metaphor for the absolute, unsparing elimination of sinful internal habits. In a single sentence, Jesus destroyed the external blame game. He explicitly relocated the battleground from the physical world to the internal spirit. Psychologists refer to this kind of shift as finding your locus of control. Notice how these scales weigh the external environment against your internal mind. Moving to an internal locus shifts the weight entirely to your own ownership. Applied directly to lust, this means the root of the issue is never external. A woman's body is never the core problem. The actual source of the sin is the unchecked, undisciplined male gaze, and the internal choice to entertain that input in the heart and mind. Now, societal modesty certainly has value, but it must never be weaponized as a shield to excuse a man's lack of mental discipline. This requires immense personal accountability. Men have to stop fighting what they see and start fighting how they choose to look. True purity is not achieved by controlling the women around you. It is achieved by becoming the absolute master of your own mind. This realization might sound daunting, but knowing the battle is internal actually brings freedom rather than condemnation. Think about it. If lust were truly caused by external factors, you would be helpless. You would be a perpetual victim to whatever environment you walked into. But because the problem is entirely in here, you possess the God-given power and agency to successfully defeat it. You can actively train your brain, your physical eyes, and your heart to reject inappropriate desire while still honoring the beauty of God's design. A godly man does not simply cast blame on the actions of others. Instead, he courageously confronts the sin within himself. Realizing this intellectually is the first step, but it requires a spiritual response. Let's bring our hearts before God. Father, I ask for your forgiveness. For too long I have externalized my sin and placed the blame for my temptation on others. I ask for a renewed purity of mind. Transform me into a man who is free from lust, walking daily in absolute internal accountability. True strength is never found in controlling the world around us. It is found when we surrender our internal world to God's standard.